Oxford-based Barresis. She's worked in massage therapy, drug and alcohol services, and has now released 2 cookbooks focusing on recipes for well-being. The first one was the food thing, and now we've got this well-being thing. Nice to see you. I'm glad that you're dishing up before we've even had a chat. That's brilliant. Welcome. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you for having me.
You've got Sicilian roots, haven't you? That's your heritage.
I have. Yes, I was born in Oxford, but my mum and dad are both from Sicily. My dad's family, most of them are here. He came here in 1953 with his family to join my great uncle in Wales. It's a long story, and then he met my mum in 1968 and married her in 1969 and brought her back to England.
So how important to your cooking are your Sicilian roots?
Food is always important. Cooking, massively important. Grew up with lots of cooked, healthy food. Some of it, sort of quite overindulgent, but most of it healthy. Sicilian diet's very good. But yeah, we always had food cooked for us. It was never sort of, go to the cupboard and eat processed food. My mum always cooked everything, and yeah, so it's really important to me. But what's most important, I think, is to cook really simple food. If you pick up a recipe and it's got 5,000 ingredients on it, I'm just not interested.
You kind of start to panic a little bit, don't
you?
You
do, and it's just stressful.
What do I do with that?
Who's got the time to buy all those ingredients? So I try to keep my ingredients list short.
But if you've got good quality ingredients, you don't
need
to do
too
them.
much
the star of the show, aren't they?
They are.
And actually, you mentioned, you didn't grow up with any kind of processed food. It was all absolutely cooked from scratch. And there was some very indulgent food as well. And, when we talk about mental health and food and the impact of food on mental health, a little bit of what you fancy. It's not all about quinoa and lentils, is it?
No, I believe everything in moderation. I personally don't eat a lot of sort of wheat-based foods because I'm not into it. But if you have a little bit of that, it's fine. But it is about everything, a little bit of what you fancy. Totally. If you want to have a bit of chocolate, if you want to have a few cakes, but just try not to have too much. Because if you have too much sugar, that's how type 2 diabetes starts, and that's where other things can start, which I'm not going to go into. But, the massive increase of sugar on our mental health is a big problem as well. The insulin going up and down, spiking.
It's that roller coaster, isn't it?
Yeah, and we need to sort of keep that insulin level low. Not low, but level, so that we're not going up and down in mood and thinking, oh, I need some sugar. It's everything in moderation, I think, will lead to a healthier lifestyle.
So the food that you cook now, is that predominantly the food that you grew up and the food that your mother was cooking?
No, my mum did cook a lot of pasta, and I don't eat a lot of pasta now, but obviously that was part of the diet. But we used to eat a lot of veg, some meat, a lot of fruit. My mum did make puddings and things, but she didn't make them very often, and she did a lot of lovely pasta dishes, which I think, as part of the diet it's good. I don't think I'd eat that much pasta now, though. Because I know when I go to Sicily, when I go to Italy, they do eat a lot of pasta, and there's a lot of wheat about, which I tend to steer away from because it is delicious, but it's just something I've just sort of not had very much of in the last few years.
So obviously food's been very important, in your life, in your childhood and into your adulthood as well. But and how important, in terms of your background in massage therapy, drug and alcohol services, etc., and mental health, because you've worked in that too, how much of a big part of that kind of career was food as well, in terms of the advice that you'd give to your clients?
Well, my clients varied. I work privately, and I've worked, like you say, in the drug and alcohol services. I work for Mind. I currently work for a charity in London called Body and Soul, and I work as a nutritionist there. So that's sort of like one of the first roles that I've done that for. But I tend to sort of advise people on good food because it's good for overall health, not just mental health. We eat far too much stuff that's going to make us bigger if we carried on eating it, if we don't exercise. So I've always I've always given people, that direction of trying to eat as well as possible. It's not easy for everybody. Since I've been doing massage, I've always been into food. I used to work in a vegetarian restaurant that was really good in London years and years ago. I've always been into that whole sort of area.
Do you think diets are changing, though, actually? We are there's a long way to go, because we need to take some of this pressure off our National Health Service, because, like you say, we can make a difference to our diets and things like diabetes too. We're responsible for that. That's a lifestyle choice, and we shouldn't be making those kind of choices.
And we can reverse it if we did follow a good sort of diet. Sometimes you can. I mean, medication is there and it's helpful, but with some type 2 diabetes cases, it can be reversed with diet. But it's a very strict diet, and you've got to be really, really, really follow it, because you've got to reduce those blood sugar levels. It's really important.
But I have conversations with people all the time, and my friends say to me, and friends that have eaten in the past a lot of meat, they're saying, I'm reducing my meat intake. I don't need as much meat. I'm not eating as much meat. The meat I am eating, they're getting from the butcher, and it's good quality meat.
I agree.
That's the difference.
I agree, totally. I think there's way too much processed meat out there. Cheap meat, if a chicken costs £3-4 quid, maybe even sometimes even cheaper. I mean, Jamie Oliver's talked about it. He's had a chicken that's been injected with water and a chicken that's been grown, longer than 30-40 days, whatever the usual standard amount is, and it's much better for you. Chickens need to move around, and they need that muscle movement in order for it to be better. So we don't need to eat as much meat twice a week. Some people eat meat a lot, good luck to them, but environmentally it's not great either.
But I think with your book, This Wellbeing Thing, and other books out there, they are incorporating lots of lovely pulses and lots of vegetables, this rainbow mix, which is very
good word,
which is
rainbow.
Well, it's happy food. I think it's happy food.
It is.
And actually, that is having a much better impact on our diets, because of course there's more fibre in that kind of food, isn't there, as well?
Yeah.
And I don't think that once you start eating that kind of food, I don't think you miss meat, do you really? I mean,
some people would.
Vegetables are exciting so much more these days.
Not for everybody, though. I've had a few people say to me, where's the meat in your book?
I love a cauliflower steak. I really do.
Me too, but some people do love their meat, and, that's up to them.
But there are good vegetable substitutes for
meat.
There
are great vegetable substances.
When you actually say, OK, I'm going to try that, then people realise that actually you can have a really good, hearty, satisfying food.
I think our diet should be 50 to 60% vegetables, and the rest, a few carbs, a little bit of protein, some protein, a little bit of fat. We need fat, and then, if you want to treat yourself occasionally.
Fibre, if you've got a good high fibre diet, then that bit of fat doesn't matter. That bit of whatever you fancy doesn't matter.
No, not at all. I think, 20% processed food, 80% real food. That's what I try and encourage people to do, because it's realistic. A
lot of people actually are now, more so, I think, growing their own vegetables, whether it's in a square in their garden.
Yeah, it's great.
Or whether they've got an allotment.
It's great. If you can grow veg, then fantastic. I can't. I don't have a garden, but it's something I would love to do, and it's something I've done in the past.
Some people have a wonderful way with vegetables and marrows.
Yes.
I just don't.
Marrow season's just been. I've still got half a pumpkin in my fridge. I don't know what to do with it.
Look, we're going to talk more about this book and some of the recipes in here. And I've been flicking through this, and I just think it's just such a great book with some great recipes in there.
Thank you.
Recipes, in fact, that look exciting and certainly look absolutely delicious as well. I know you've brought some food in for us, which
I have.
You can plate up in just a moment while we play some Post Malone. This is beautiful. This is called Circles. It's Foodie Friday. It's BBC Radio Oxford, and I will continue my conversation, my foodie chat with Ros Barresis, my Foodie Friday guest, in just a moment. That song is superb. It is BBC Radio Oxford. The latest travel in the next 5 or 6 minutes. But back to my Foodie Friday guest right now. She is Wallingford-based Rosalia Barresis, and she's got a very, very interesting kind of backstory, having worked in mental health, worked in drug and alcohol services, massage, etc., and now a nutritionist up in London as well. So food, whatever you've done, food has been so important. The new book is called This Wellbeing Thing, and it is packed full of nutritious, delicious recipes that are good for you. And there's some education in that book as well.
Yeah, I wanted to do a little bit something different from the first book. So the first book's just sort of 25 straight recipes. This one was, how do I say? So I wanted to write a little bit about well-being and my take on well-being. So there's like an A to Z of well-being in there. There's just a piece I've written about well-being and my opinion on that. So I've inserted it into the book, and each recipe has got certain ingredients in it that are, full of nutrients. So it might have almonds in it that are, full of magnesium and folic acid. So each recipe's noted that has these particular nutrients.
And when you perhaps advise, particularly in your role now as a nutritionist, but when you sit down and you talk to a client, somebody that needs your help, that is struggling with their nutrition, struggling with their weight, struggling with their just total well-being, and then they start eating on the advice of yourself, what difference does it make to that person physically and, most importantly, mentally?
Much improvement. It's pinpointing where where they need a bit of help. So they may have, massive sugar intake in their diet, and wonder.
Do they know that they shouldn't, or are they eating sugars?
Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're just laying into cakes and chocolate bars and things like that. Comfort eating. So it's pinpointing where they sort of need to ease up on the sugar a bit.
It's kind of
it
addictive.
Is massively addicted. Yeah, massively. It's just pointing people in the right direction. It's really tricky sometimes, but if someone's willing to listen and willing to take that information on, then I think they're halfway there.
Well, if they're talking to you about it, then I think that willingness is there. Look, you have brought some food in.
I have.
And this is my kind of food. I mean, I love a roast on a Sunday as much as anybody else, but I love this kind of food as well because it makes me happy because I know that I'm nurturing my body and my family's bodies as well. I'm giving them good, wholesome, nutritious food.
You can't beat sweet potatoes. No. Everyone loves sweet potatoes. And they're so popular now. I don't know, the last 15 years, they've just gone through the roof in the UK, I think.
Absolutely, and they're not expensive. When anyone says it costs a lot to eat healthily, it doesn't.
Do you know something, though? I had to do some cooking for an event in September for a charity that I volunteer for. And I was doing a stew with sweet potatoes. I couldn't find sweet potatoes anywhere. I went to all the supermarkets, and there was a real lack of sweet potatoes. So I had to use butternut squash. But it's okay. It's fine. Butternut squash is good.
There's always a substitute, isn't there?
A substitute.
Right, so tell me about what you're going to dish up for me right now.
So this is a stuffed pepper with sweet potatoes, feta and salad. It's in the book. Mm-hmm. So I made the salsa with lemon zest, lemon juice, chilli.
Okay.
Coriander rocket.
That gives it a freshness, doesn't it? Yes. The coriander.
I roasted the sweet potato, and then I stuffed the pepper with the sweet potato, the salsa, and the feta.
That's delicious. And if we're talking about rainbow food, I got a bit of chilli there.
Did you?
That's lovely. When we talk about eating with our eyes and rainbow food, I mean, this is the reds, the oranges, of course, the white of the feta, the green. It's exciting food. There's nothing boring about this. There's nothing processed and beige about this.
Beige, that's such a good word. Banish the beige, as someone I know uses for her clients. Hopefully it's sort of appealing. It's got a really nice kick to it, and I think the lemon zest and the chilli does make it an exciting dish. It's so easy to make.
You've got some hummus as well, haven't you?
I've got some hummus.
Miso hummus.
Miso hummus. So this is just normal hummus made with chickpeas and tahini, and I've got some crackers. Biscuits, oat biscuits. So this is made with, and so this has got miso in it, which is really, really high in all sorts of. What
do you make though of? Because every single year we seem to have these superfoods. Whether it's quinoa or whatever else it might be. And I suppose there's it's a bit of a fad. I mean, there are all these fad diets all the time. What do you make of that kind of thing?
Well, I think if people want to get into it, that's up to them. I mean, at the end of the day, fads don't tend to last. So I firmly think that if you just had a good nutrient-dense diet, you slide a little bit, you have a little bit of, something that's unhealthy occasionally, once, twice a week, you're not going to do much damage. But if you can get into eating, as much healthy food as possible, real food, as I call it, non-processed food, non-junk food, whatever you want to call it, I think it's all good. I mean, people think that chickpeas are fattening. That they are, but they're a good fat. It's not like eating,
That's where people need the education.
Yeah, because fat doesn't make you fat. It's, lots and lots of sugar does. And I think chickpeas are a great source of vitamin B. They're fantastic. They're so good, and they're cheap. You can make them. My mum used to cook chickpeas a lot, with pasta, and that's a typical Sicilian sort of peasant style dish, that you put into soups and stews, because they probably didn't have a lot of meat in 100 years ago, 50 years ago in Sicily, so they probably couldn't afford too much of it, or if their animals weren't up to scratch. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for coming in. Where can people get the new book, This Wellbeing Thing?
It's available on Amazon. If you just go into Amazon and put This Wellbeing Thing, and it will come up. And the next book as well, This Food Thing, is also available on there.
Ros, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you. And I know that we still haven't got to pudding because there's an avocado brownie there. Thank you so much for being my Foodie Friday guest.
Thank you.
BBC Radio Oxford.
Your time saver travel.